Hi and welcome to Miniature Diorama. I'd like to welcome all of my new subscribers and thank all of my older ones for staying with me. Today's video is part 2 in the building of the Russian barn for my early tiger diorama. In last week's video I did the lower structure using logs, and in this video I'll be doing the upper structure and joists using balsa wood. You can see some of the progress that I've made from the stills above. I start this week's video with the construction of the joists, which I make out of 1mm balsa wood. I cut strips out. Once I've cut the one out to the right width, I'll then use that as a template and use it to measure the other parts of the joist. I'll make the one main joist by sandwiching the balsa wood together. The main beams will be 4 pieces wide, and the internal beams of the joist will be 2mm wide. I'm using super glue to glue the joist together, and I'll make one main template joist and then take the measurements off that for the other 3 joists. But because of the way the barn is placed on the base, it means that all the joists are a different length. So I also made a little template so that I can use that to measure the cross beams and cut the angles on the joists themselves, because it's on a 60-30 angle. I've also notched the end pillars of the base to make it easier to locate the joists themselves, and I'll use those to measure the external parts of the joist so the joist will fit into them, the lower part, and make it easier for construction. Here I'm just test fitting the joists to the base so I can get the other parts of the joist cut to length. I was going to make it so that the parts were removable from each other to make it easier to paint, but in the end I decided to actually connect the joist structure together and also to the lower part of the barn, just because it was easier for construction. I'm just marking the balsa wood now for cutting so that the structure is quite firm and rigid. In these stills above, you can see the actual thickness of the joists and the way that I've built them around the gaps in the lower barn to make it more rigid. I'm just dry fitting all the joist parts and clamping them down so they're nice and firm. I'll remove them and then start making the rest of the joists. Here I'm just measuring up the parts of the joist using a 60-30 set square, trying to work out where to put all of the joins and stuff, and doing a little bit of trimming. Doing constant dry fitting, making sure it's all looking good and it's all nice and square. I do the roof at a 30-degree angle, just checking the angle here and marking it for the cutting off to make the cross members go up. I'll trim any excess off after I've glued them together. I'm using VMS super glue. I could use PVA wood glue, but because I'm trying to get it done quite quickly, I was using the super glue because I wanted to try and get the roof done in a day, which I did manage, or the roof joists anyway. Also using the markings on the cutting mat to get things square. Here I'm just increasing the thickness of the joist with some more balsa wood, and then just trimming off the excess if I need to. Because it's all pretty much the same angle, I can use the offcuts with the angles on to continue the height and to fill in the gaps and stuff. Once I'm happy with the joist, I clean it up with a sanding stick, just make it a little bit tidier. And then I use this joist as a template to make the other joist, as I said before. I start measuring up the wood for the second joist. I use a figure to help me get the scale so it looks right. I've also got a scale ruler which is done in feet and centimetres, or feet in metres, so it gives you the actual length in a 35 scale as opposed to you having to work it out, which is quite handy. Also for the cutting of the balsa wood, I also use it on plastic card. I've got a cork backed ruler which helps it not slip when you're cutting. I'll measure up all of the parts for the joist and then I'll attach them to the cutting board using masking tape, and then use the squares on the cutting board as a guide to help me with the fixing and getting it all level. Just using the set square there again to get the right angle on the roof, and just trying it up against the original joist. Like I say, I was trying to make it so I could keep the joist separate, but it became a bit too complicated with the fitting of the joists, so I decided to make it so that it was all in one piece attached to the bottom. Also, when I did the outer woodwork, I was going to do that in panels, but I did it attached to the actual barn structure because it was just easier. It was a choice of either being easy to paint or easy to construct, so I left the internal parts of the barn, like the flooring and stuff, off, and I'll do that in the next video. But I did all of the structure and the external of the barn attached to each other. It was just easier for the construction. Just measuring up the new joist against the old, again using the VMS super glue. It's just handy because it's fast setting. I'll trim off the excess that I've got. It was the easiest way to do it this way because you can get the right angle on the joists, although I did mess up and I had to clean it up a little bit, but it will be hidden with the thatched roof. Once I've got the integrity of the structure, I'll remove it from the cutting mat or take the masking tape off, and I'll just make the beams wider as I need, with it not attached to the curtain board. The construction of the joist took quite a long time, but the cladding should take a lot less time, hopefully. I used to use just normal shop bought, typically like, I can't think of the name of it now, not Bostik. Anyway, I used to just use normal super glue, but I found this really easy because you get a lot more in the bottle, and it's just built for what it's meant for. VMS do 3 different super glues, one for photo etch, one for resin, and one for dioramas. This is a slow setting diorama super glue. I'm trying to decide whether to do all of the barn planks.
Planks going down.
Horizontally, or to do a mix of both.
The planks cross there first, planks going down, there'll be a little doorway there. There'll be planks going down there, which I'll keep on a separate unit with supports down there. Supports across for the roof, and it's going to be thatched on both sides. And I've also got floorboards to do, and the internals.
And that's a finished.
Still got to fill in there as well.
Joist structure.
And just give it a bit of a clean up.
Here you can see the differences in the thickness between the verticals and the horizontals, just done by laminating the bosswood up, and also the complexity of the structure because of the way it's placed on the diorama. So now I'm going to move on to the planking. I am doing this with 1/2 mil balsa wood. I've cut a load of strips off, and I've also added some horizontal and vertical supports to mount the planking to. I'm just attaching them again with VMS super glue. There's a little door as well, which I've got to do a framework for, or a hatch on the left hand side of the barn for loading the hay into the loft. There will be a flooring structure when I do the internals of it as well. Maybe a double decker floor and have like a mezzanine in the higher level. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but it will all be planked out with balsa wood. I just cut all of these planks to length beforehand, just glue them on. Again, the entire structure will be painted, it's not going to be left bare wood. The planking was a lot quicker than the actual joist construction because it was just simply laying on the bosswood planks. The lower construction, which is vertical, has got no overlap, but then the upper structure, which is horizontal, I've put an overlap on the planks, and again just fix them in place with the VMS super glue. The only thing that took a bit longer on the horizontals was getting the planks to the right length for the supports, so that where they would be nailed into in real life, they overlapped on to as a plank. You can't really see it when it's done, but you just need to make sure the lines are in line, just so it looks more authentic. And I also try to keep all the plank lengths down to under 6 foot, which is about the length of a plank. I'll also go around the edges with a bit of tidying up. I'll cut it all straight with a ruler, and then I'll put some fascias onto it so it looks a bit neater. It'll all be done in bare wood, painted in bare wood. And that's the outer wall completed. I'll leave you with some stills of the finished barn. Next week's video will be painting and some wood effects. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider leaving a like or a comment and subscribing if you're not already. And I hope to see you next week. Thanks and goodbye.